Hey, good day. Just like to say thanks to Lee for getting in contact and asking me to do a few questions and talk about obviously my career. Doing a great job, Lee. I've read and watched a few of the videos, especially with Wheeler. Pretty funny. So yeah, I'll get into it. First question: what was your favourite track as a schoolboy and then in your pro career? Definitely Hawkstone Park as a schoolboy. Yeah, just love riding in the sand. And then obviously to be able to compete on a track that you'd spend at least a weekend going to watch the Grand Prix and watching the top guys ride. Yeah, just made it all the more special. And then once I got into pro career, probably a couple really. Payern in Switzerland. Awesome track, really old school, grassy, some good natural jumps, and yeah, just a great track to ride. And then for me, I just love riding it no more. Great atmosphere, totally unique track. Every sort of I guess difficulty we could come up against: tarmac, cobblestones, racing through trees, nearly clipping them with your handlebars. It was yeah, it was for sure a good adrenaline rush, and yeah, with the crowd there, just made it all the more special. So yeah, definitely no more. Question 2: what riders did you look up to and idolise when you were young? I started riding in 1979, the year Graham Noyce was world champion, so certainly in the early years Graham was one of my idols. I think I even wrote to Jim Will Fix It asking him if I could go riding with Graham Noyce. Obviously he never got back to me, so that didn't happen, but yeah. And then obviously moving forward, going to Grand Prix just to watch in the 80s. You can't go past obviously Forpy, absolute legend, and always took the time to speak to you, and yeah, just an all-round great competitor and really genuine good guy. And obviously Kurt Nickel had been around the same time. Certainly was a hard charging guy, and yeah, didn't quite get the luck go his way to win a championship, but certainly someone that I've always looked up to. So those would be the guys there. Question 3: who were your closest rivals in your racing days, and who did you enjoy racing with the most? There's too many to list. I mean, through the schoolboy days there was possibly 10 guys that could win a national. Obviously you had Malin, Dog, Jason Burrows, Warren Edwards, the list goes on and on, Daniel and Danny Smith. There's just so many, and so many great guys that I guess didn't make it past the schoolboy years, but certainly had the talent that they could have gone on. So, and then I think in the adults, would be once you get to Grand Prix level, it's great racing, but I would say probably the closest sort of rivals that we did have a few good battles would be Christian Burnham. We always seem to be there or thereabouts on the track at the same time, so yeah, we had some good battles there, but for the most part I enjoyed racing with everybody on the track. It was yeah, it was always fun, and for the most part it was clean racing, so yeah, it was totally enjoyable. What was your favourite race bike and team you rode for during your career? Certainly it would have to be with KTM on the 380. Just totally enjoyed the years I rode that. I rode the KTM there from 96 through to 99, and it was just a fun bike to ride. It had plenty of go in it, to compete with the bigger 500 engines, but it felt more like a 250. It was light, you could throw it around. It was, yeah, just the all-round good bike then. Probably I spent a lot of time testing with the guys, so I think '98 was a great year, certainly for me anyway. We had a great engine, the suspension was awesome, and it was just an all-round good package. Like I say, it was light, you could throw it around, it was real fun to ride, so that would be my bike. What was your favourite race number, and was there any reason? I think right from the start of the career, anything with 5 in it, 5 was I like number 5, so no real reason. So yeah, I had number 5, number 15, number 25, I think 45 for a while, and that kind of, I guess, went through into Grand Prix. I think I had number 25 for a few years there, so I don't know whether liking that number came into it or not, or it was just luck that I got it, but yeah, it was always something with 5 was the best, so that'd be that one. Question number 6, what track venue did you not like racing at, and why? I don't think I really hated or disliked too many tracks. The only one I think I had a bit of a love-hate relationship was with Ellsworth Park through the schoolboys. I could have good days there, I could have terrible days there, and I think mainly because it was so hard pack, and I guess the main reason was breaking my leg there in '87, so that always leaves I guess a little bit of a scratch on that track, but yeah, it's a funny, as I said, a bit of a love-hate relationship, because when they ripped that up and put plenty of water in, it was the most grippiest track that I think I've ever ridden, and I totally enjoyed it then when it was in that state, but I think probably when it was hard pack, didn't really enjoy my time there, certainly after I broke my leg. Yeah, wasn't that fussed on going there. Question number 7, what was your favourite racing gear you've worn during your career, and why? I think probably a couple. When I was in the schoolboys on Kawasaki, I had some JT gear that was really cool, vented in the front, and yeah, I thought that was the bee's knees basically. But I guess when in the pro career, I think the gear I rode with in '98, which was UFO, and I think it was just the colours really. Was on KTM, we had blue kit, orange and bit of black in there, and yeah, I thought it really looked good, and yeah, and I like wearing it, so definitely that one. So, did you have any superstitions during your racing days? I probably had a few. I had a couple of lucky undershirts I used to wear. I think I've still got them now. So I'd always be one of those I'd be wearing. And then I'd always, certainly once I got to adults, I'd put for some reason, put my right knee brace on before my left. Whether that was just routine or superstition, I'm not too sure, but yeah, that's how that one used to go. Question 9, where did you race as a schoolboy? So obviously being from Portsmouth, where I grew up, we used to race a lot at the Portsmouth Schoolboy Scramble Club. Vale of the White Horse was another club that we used to go to a lot. And then I think, you know, we'd obviously travel and do Severn Valley and Corsham. Horsham was also up the coast, so we used to do a fair bit of riding there as well. So was pretty lucky that, yeah, we seemed to move around the country a fair bit, and yeah, taking a lot of the clubs. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Number 10, do you still ride now? Where and what bikes? I haven't been riding in the last I haven't had a bike for the last 5 years, only a road bike, so that doesn't really count. Last sort of riding I did was in New Zealand, just a little bit of trail riding. I had a 450 KTM, we'll just go out trail riding with the guys when I had time. But the last real sort of any sort of racing would have been about 2008, just some local races around the New Plymouth area in New Zealand. So yeah, haven't really ridden too much, but yeah, I've kind of was hoping to come over this year and race at Farley Castle for the vets there, but yeah, obviously with the restrictions now, we might have to put that off to another year, and might give me a chance to get back in the riding and maybe lose 10 or 15 kilos first. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. When did you finish competitive racing and why? My last real competitive, I guess, at any sort of level racing was 2003. I was still lucky enough to get bikes from KTM, so that kept me going. But I think you know, that year I'd just done a few internationals and a few races in Holland, and just sort of kept me on the bike. But I guess really from 2002 was kind of my last Grand Prix year. I just sort of had lost interest, I guess, in the way that the sport had gone. From 2000, really, things had changed with Longo coming in, and yeah, I think by 2002 I'd kind of had enough of the, you know, you can park here and you guys can park over there, and it was all becoming too segregated. I think through a lot of my career, I was very lucky that it was a little bit more family orientated, I guess, and more the spectators could get more easy access to the riders, and yeah, I just didn't like the way the sport had been going. My fear was, and I think it has shown, is that the level of rider isn't quite as it should be. You know, at least back in the day, you could get many guys turn up, 80 to 100 guys, sometimes more, battling it out in qualifying for 40 places. Well, you know, we don't even see 40 guys on the line these days. So that's when I started to lose interest. And I believe it was actually 2002. I said to my wife, you know, I think it was after Spain, I just said, I'm done. You know, this is I'm over this, and yeah, it was time to stop, I guess. So that was that one. Question 12. What other sports do you enjoy doing after MX days? Well, don't get too much done lately, other than chase my daughters around with horses. So I get my enjoyment now out of seeing them enjoying what they do. So that keeps me busy. But once I did stopped, I played football for a small town in New Zealand, Inglewood, as a left back, and did that for a few years, just mainly for the fun and to keep fit. But yeah, these days, yeah, don't get too much activity done. So that'll be about it. Question 13. What was your most memorable race meeting you've enjoyed the most, and why? I mean, I think there's probably a fair few there that you could pinpoint. I think any time I raced at Namur, it was just fun. Yeah, it was the atmosphere, the track. I found it was challenging, it was engaging, and just enjoyable for me to ride. I just loved every minute of it. But I guess probably one of the more memorable ones would have been in raining in Holland in 1998. Didn't get the greatest of starts in both races, but managed to ride up through the field, and I think I went fifth in the first heat, and I think he was 6th or 7th in the second heat, and I think I just needed to grab one more place on the way through, and I would have been 3rd overall, but I missed out with Robbie Herring by a point. But I think, yeah, that day probably sticks as one of the better weekends, just for the guys, or the caliber of guys I guess I was riding up past and pushing on towards the front. It was a track that suited me. It was lightly sandy on top and hard underneath, so you get very much square edge bumps. And yeah, I just had a really good day, and yeah, totally enjoyed it. So just a bit bummed that Robbie picked me by a point, but yeah, that's how it goes. So question 14: who were your best mates during your racing career, and do you still keep in touch? There's been so many, I guess, and again, there's so many that you could touch on, and I think for the most part, being involved, especially in the 500 class, I think that we made so many friends. But schoolboy career, certainly the likes of Warren Edwards and Danny and Daniel Smith. Yeah, too many to answer. Neil Shepherd. Yeah, there's just heaps and heaps and heaps of guys. So certainly once we got to the adults, was definitely Wheeler and Daniel Smith. Yeah, we used to I guess get up to some crazy stuff, but when it was serious and it was ready for qualifying or the gate to drop, it was a different scenario. But I did see Wheeler's videos and talking about his little excursions, shall we say, off the double through the trees there in the moor, and myself and Daniel sitting there waiting for him to come through because he said he was going to do it, and ending up in the chestnut fencing at the corner was pretty funny. So yeah, we always seemed to have a good time, but we were out there, and I guess in a way looking after each other. I remember Wheeler giving me a tow to help me qualify in '93, and I did the same for Smithy in the moor one year. So we were very much, I guess, friends and having a laugh, but we were still there to help each other when we really needed it. So it was good. Question 15: what do you miss the most about your racing days? Just that, really, I guess, the friendship, the good laughs, just the people you meet along the way, whether that was riders or spectators or anything, to the guys that were there with you in the teams, and just some amazing people that we've met from all over the world, basically. That would be by far the most thing that I miss. Obviously you miss riding the bike, and sometimes even though I haven't ridden for quite some time, the brain still thinks that no problem, you'd hop on and go at top speed, but the body certainly wouldn't be too keen to do it these days. So but yeah, just everyone you met in the sport, totally amazing. So question 16: do you have any regrets from your racing days? Was there any meetings you feel you should have won, done better? I think I listed in question number 1 Payerne in Switzerland as one of my favourite tracks. Was always qualified really well there on a Saturday, right up there to get be able to prep the rut and get everything ready to go, and then every time I raced there, Sunday came around and I think the first year I raced there, woke up to about 2 foot of snow. By the time the snow went, it was obviously a mud race, and then it just turned into a lottery. And then the second time I raced there, again qualified perfect on a Saturday, perfect conditions, awesome track, to wake up to just pouring with rain. So probably would have liked to have got a day there where it was dry. Track certainly suited me. Loved riding around there. But yeah, just never got the chance to, I guess, see what could have happened in the dry. And it was always so muddy there that it was just a lottery. So yeah, that was probably one of the I guess biggest regrets is, yeah, the weather didn't play kind. And then talked about raining in Holland in one of the other questions earlier, where I just missed third place overall by a point. And I'm pretty sure that the guys that, or at least one of the guys I needed to pass, wasn't that far in front, and yeah, it just didn't happen. So I guess, you always have regrets, but I finished where I did for a reason, and yeah, there obviously wasn't enough time, or I just didn't have enough energy left to pass that guy in front. So those would probably be the two. I mean, but no real major regrets from racing. I'm happy with everything I did, and yeah, just totally enjoyed myself, so you can't have too many regrets with that. Question 17. Tell us a funny story of your racing days and memories. I think I could probably talk for about 2 days, and I think especially if Wheeler and Daniel, we all got together, we could probably host a fairly decent comedy evening with some of the stories. But probably a couple really from the more. I remember, I think it was, actually I couldn't even remember the year, but coming along towards Wheeler's little favourite downhill jump he was talking about the other day, and always used to attract a lot of spectators, and I always used to have a good fan club come from the UK. And yeah, we'd just be coming over the hill, and I think it was in qualifying, it was a slight rise up over a hill, and then you do a sort of a right left before you jumped off the downhill double, and just as I came up over the rise there, I could see about 7 backsides mooning me. I think I was laughing that hard, I'm not sure how I got through the chicane or over the downhill double, but we got through that. So that was pretty funny, and then to find out that they weren't doing it just to me. I had Peter Hansen, that time factory Yamaha rider, I think, come up to me afterwards and saying, your fan club were mooning me, and he said he was laughing that hard, same deal, he nearly crashed. So yeah, it was good fun, lots of fun times. So yeah, pretty good. Another one, similar sort of area, I guess, in Namur, was Daniel was having a bit of, he wasn't quite in qualifying, so I'd said, come on, we'll go do a lap, and I'd give him a tow, and I'd slightly overcooked it, coming into a right, it was sort of a right and a left, slightly overcooked it. It was an area where the spectators couldn't get to, so they just had tape up. And I'd completely missed the corner, gone over the berm into the trees, and looked back to see that Daniel was right behind me. So I don't know what he thought I was doing, but he missed the corner as well and come straight up behind me, and then sort of pulled up alongside me, and I was just about to apologise, saying we'll have to go round again, and he sort of looks at me and says, "Mushy, you nutter, what are you doing?" So that was made me chuckle, but I think we did get another lap in, and yeah, I'm pretty sure Daniel made the race, so it was good. Question 18. Tell us what you're known for in your racing style. Tell us in 3 words. I guess it's hard to really talk about. I've never really had anyone say what you were known for, but I guess was a very fast starter, so I'd say fast starting, and I'd like to think smooth, so fast starting, smooth would be what I hope maybe people would say. Question 19. What were your strengths and possible weaknesses? I think strength-wise, I trained hard, and I was lucky enough to train with some of the best guys in the world. So I think I trained hard. I think I was fit. I think that was definitely a strength of mine. Certainly in the sand races, I almost seemed to pick up a few places in the last 10 minutes of each moto. They were 45 minutes plus 2 then, so long races. So yeah, I think probably wasn't the fastest on the track, but I could maintain a decent speed. So that was definitely a strength of mine. Weaknesses, I was fast starting and sort of whole shotted a lot of races and led for a while. But I guess the weakness is that wasn't one of the fastest on the track. So to keep at the front and run the pace of the guys that were fighting for the championship, and that you were almost putting in, I guess, qualifying pace laps, and that sort of, it was almost a little bit of a toss up. Do you kind of settle into a rhythm and have some of the quicker guys come past early, or do you just keep pushing on and sort of lead for as long as you can and just see how it goes? That was the option I always took, was just to press on, but you were pumping in probably quicker laps than I would have liked to, if I could have settled into a decent pace earlier. Yeah, but I can't complain. Great starts. Sometimes you fade back to 6th, 7th, 8th, and sometimes 4th or 5th. So there's still great results, but I just think I just didn't have, as a weakness, probably quite the raw speed to be able to hold that, to really compete with the likes of your Everts and Smiths and your Hansons and Kings and those guys. So yeah, I'd say that was a weakness, just not enough speed. Question 20. If you could re-race a meeting, race tomorrow in your full prime, where and what? Yeah, I don't know. Pretty happy with everything I did. I think maybe I'd change, if I could change something, would have been Hawkstone Park in 97. Qualified well, first moto, didn't get a great start, and myself and another good friend of mine, Mats Nilsson, we collided, I think about 3 or 4 turns in. Both went upside down, and I was pinned against the chestnut fencing underneath the bike, and obviously by the time I got out from under there, the crowd were again awesome. They leaned over the fence and picked the rear of the bike up so I could crawl out, but I think by the time I'd got going, I think it took me something like 3 laps, 4 laps before I caught the back of the field, and I think I was putting in the fastest laps of the race, like right up until the 30-minute mark, just trying to push on and catch the back of the pack and keep coming through. Eventually I think I scored a 14th place and picked up a couple of points, but in doing so just completely and utterly blew myself to pieces, to the point that I just had nothing left, and it really sort of certainly messed up the second heat. I remember second heat getting a great start, was in second place, and I think 3 or 4 laps in I just had absolutely nothing left. It felt like the seat, every time it was bouncing up, it was, it was breaking my back. Yeah, I'd completely blown myself to pieces. I think when I pulled out the race, I was in 4th place, and yeah, just couldn't go on. Kind of for picking up 2 points in the first race, I probably would have been better off to give that one up and focus on the second one, and that certainly would have helped me for the rest of the season, because it took me 3 or 4 or 5 Grand Prix before I started to come right again. So yeah, I think if I could change anything, I would change that, and maybe have taken the option to forget that one and focus on the second moto. But I guess at the time, home Grand Prix, really want to do well. Yeah, there was not even, I don't even remember thinking about pulling out. It was just open the gas and just go for it. And yeah, when you've got the crowd cheering you on, it's very hard to throw the towel in, but it would have been a wiser option. Question 21. What do you feel was the best achievement in motocross, and why? It's hard to say. I think I guess if you put it into where you world ranking, then it would be 98. Had a great season. Had some really great races. Came down to the last round in Germany, and I think there was a number of guys that could finish anywhere from 11th to 17th in the championship, and I think after the first moto we'd narrowed it down to 3 of us that could still get to the number 11 plate, and I think I had I just had to beat those guys in the second moto, and I think I had 2 of them in front of me, 1 behind. So yeah, just get the head down, focus on getting past those guys, and I'd say that was one of the greatest achievements, was to finish 11th in the World Championship that year, and yeah, it was totally enjoyable. So that would probably be the one. Question 22. Who were the riders you always had run-ins with and hated racing against? I don't think I really hated racing against anyone. Certainly there were people that you knew you had to be careful around, but I guess, and Merv seems to be picking up a lot of the I guess attraction from the riders answering these questions. So unfortunately, definitely Merv. He's not called Merv the Swerve for nothing. He used to use up all of the track, and you'd think that you'd found a way through, and all of a sudden you'd have Swerving Mervin right across the track in front of you again. So definitely Merv. I think Jason Higgs as well, another great rider of our time, growing up in the schoolboys and then to Grand Prix. But the same deal, you think you'd have a way past, and the next minute it's come from one side of the track to the other, and you'd be rubbing up against each other and trying to squeeze into a gap that certainly wasn't there. So certainly would count Jason in that. And then you can't go past Gert-Jan van Dorn, Rambo van Dorn. Yeah, whenever he was anywhere near you on the track, you were braced, ready to just get T-boned or taken out. But had several run-ins with him, but I think if you give back as good as you get, then yeah, it's kind of evens itself out. Question 23. If you give one piece of advice to any youngster currently racing in schoolboys, anyone asks me, always, I think you just got to have fun. If you're enjoying everything you're doing, then yeah, it comes easier and easier. And I guess the older you get in the schoolboys, certainly start doing a little bit of training, start working on that side of stuff. But as long as you're having fun, that's all you can ask. Just get out there and totally enjoy yourself. Question 24. What are your social usernames and that? Well, I'm only recently on well, not recently, but I didn't get on Facebook for quite some time. I ended up getting on Facebook because my daughter's horse riding, so I could see their results and stuff if I couldn't go. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram for the same reason. So yeah, anyone can get a hold of me there, and yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, so just again, thanks for Lee for asking me to do this, and yeah, hopefully I've answered your questions, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. Cheers.